Why are you here, Eli?
I've been accused of not being myself.
Billy, how did you get connected with this? This is such unique territory for you.
Well, I was one of the creators of the show. From the beginning, it was a totally different kind of idea, and then I was given this book about kids who experience past lives and have other kinds of trauma, and so we hit on this idea of a pediatric psychiatrist working with a troubled young boy, and my partner and one of them, Eric Roth, who's a great screenwriter, Forrest Gump and Killers of the Flower Moon, Dune, all on, on and on and on, said we should bring in Sarah Thorpe, who I did not know. He said, I've worked with her, she's great, and so we gave her the basic idea of the two of them, of Noah and Dr. Adler, and then she said, give me 2 weeks, and she came back with this incredible palette of the lives of the two of them, which then included his wife Lynn and her mysterious passing, and all of these mysteries that would be, unraveled. And I said, all right, I'll play him. I had not intended to play him. It was something I thought I would produce maybe, but she was so brilliant and turned out to be also that that was how I ended up in it when I just originally set off to produce it.
Wow. Now let's talk about this young man next to you. Jacobi, you are great in that.
Thank you.
How did you find him? And Jacobi, how difficult was it to take this guy on?
Well, we auditioned seriously, over 700 kids.
Wow.
In this country and in Canada. And then Jacobi had done a film, Peter Pan, a new Peter Pan film for Apple, right? Disney. And it caught the eye of people, and they said, you should meet him. So we saw his tape, and then we decided, let's audition him. And we did it over Zoom. We weren't even in the same room because it was during COVID, and he was in London, and I was in LA. And he was great on the Zoom, and then we brought him, we cast him and got him to the States, and we didn't really meet until about a week or so before we started shooting, and that was perfect because in the show he just shows up, so it was very fresh, and I was so taken with his ability and his intelligence and his understanding of the different levels of Noah that he would have to play, and it was just I have to say easy because we were so good together.
Yeah, agreed. Jacobi, what was it like for you? I mean, what was challenging and what was exciting for you to take on this role?
I was excited by all of it. As soon as I did the tape, I loved it. I loved the idea, and I was so into this role. And then I got the job, and I really loved this idea and this person and this character, this young boy that Sarah has created, and Billy and Eric have created, and his journey with Eli. And I fell in love with Noah's character and his personalities. He'll be, at one point, kind of all right, and then 2 seconds later he'll be screaming. And it's the jumps to those points that's kind of crazy to do, but it's quite fun because you kind of get to go from doing one thing to doing an extreme of the other. And it's really, really fun.
And hard. I mean, physically, some of our scenes together are combative, physically, actually, sometimes. But emotionally, I had to get him to places to break through that made him have these horrific fantasies and not being very verbal. It's all in his eyes and his physical embodiment of the horrors that he's feeling. So it's not just merely screaming and yelling. It's panic attacks. It's traumatic events that I'm witnessing, and when you shoot something, it's from many different angles. It's from here, it's from there, it's what. So he would do it over and over and over again. And when he would leave the set, we would just look at each other and go, wow, that was unbelievable. Because, when you create a series that your co-star is 11 years old, you don't know what you're going to get, and the burden of it is tremendous. And, after all of these 10 episodes, we all look at each other still and go, wow, how fortunate we were.
You've had a successful career helping troubled kids.
It's okay.
Can you identify the moment that changed?
Yeah, of course. It's the day my wife died.
Lynn?
How did you get involved?
Billy Crystal offered me a role, and I initially turned that role down, and I was so upset while I'm saying no, because I told them, I literally said on the Zoom, I said, this is going to be a hit. It's so well written. And I said, and by the way, the character Denise, Billy, make sure you get somebody who approaches it correctly. And Billy knew my past. I was a ward of the state for a while, and we just started talking about it. And the Zoom went on for over an hour. And I said, oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying no to you. I always wanted to work with you. And then he called back 3 days later and said, you have to play Denise. And I said, okay, well, in saying that, I want her to be like this. And he was completely on board, he and Sarah, the writer, as well as Eric Roth, the executive producer. And so they were very, very supportive. I wanted her to come from the place of love and caring, not of pity and judgment of a child. Denise was once in the system herself, so she knows how it goes. She knows that he was a child that nobody wanted and was traumatized and difficult. And that just resonated with me in a big, big way. And I said, and I also want Denise to be extremely nervous, just on pins and needles every moment, because she doesn't want to mess this kid up.
Wow, I love that approach, because it's obviously kind of having a personal connection. That's got to be, at the very least, give you so much meat to work with. At the very least.
Yeah, too much. It was too much meat to work with. To the point where I literally gained 20 pounds on this shoot. It took me forever to take it off. My poor husband at the end of the night, oh my God, because I downloaded on him nightly. And he was just wonderful. And, and he always reads lines with me in preparation for the next day. And I would just be sobbing. And I go, okay, let's do it again. So I exhausted him. So it was a heavy lift. It was a lot.
I like the fact that we're seeing a lot of really interesting artists like Billy Crystal take on genre, horror. This is weird, and it's cool. What do you think the connection is? Why do you think people are kind of, for you, this is not necessarily your genre. What is it about this story that do you think will resonate with people?
Well, I hate scary movies. I hate it because I don't like being scared. But what will resonate with people, the way the script resonated with me, is that this is grounded in trauma and grief and past issues. And if you can't get past your past, it's going to come back to haunt you. And I think that's what's going to pull people in, and that there's certain people that come into your life and you don't know why, but if you're open, it could be such a blessing, so I think that's why people are going to stick with this series. more so
Well, I
than
mean,
just the horror and spookiness that is all about. It's like, oh my gosh, the kid that plays Noah, Jacobi, sometimes when he would stare, I would go, oh my God. It's like, you're a really scary kid, so it's great.
well, I mean, I think that's the beauty of children in horror films. They can be the sweetest things, and then they can be, oh my God, I'm terrified completely. What? How? I mean, he's so good in this too. What was he like to work with?
Easy.
Uh,
That kid, there's a little man inside there, so he would come so well prepared. He was so professional. He was so considerate to everyone. Every time he would see like something got to me too much, he would go, Rosie, are you okay? Because he's actually British. And I was like, I'm okay. He goes, you look so sad. It makes me sad. I was like, what? And then we go a take and he's like, I'm like, oh my gosh. So he's a standout. He's going to be big in this business and I wish him well. Yeah, Billy did very well in casting this.
What's with the farmhouse?
Just some picture I found. Hey.
You are menacing in this. I love it.
I wouldn't have thought of myself in that way, but I'm very happy to have your experience.
Well, it's funny because I was watching. I grew up watching your Who's the Boss, all these things, and just knowing your work and seeing this character, and especially the beginning, you don't know, and you really pulls you in.
Right.
How did you get involved? Like, this is a really good role for you.
It's really interesting. I've known Billy Crystal for a long time, and we've been friends, and he was talking to me about doing this, and I had always wanted to work with Billy, and in many ways, it's one of those things that you intuit. I knew that sometime I would work with Billy. I used to watch him, and I would say, I'm going to work with him someday. And he called me about this, and we started talking about it, and all the ideas and concepts that are in this show are things that I've always been curious about and interested in. And so when he was talking to me about it, and then I met with Billy and I met with Sarah Thorpe, and we started talking about the things that we have in common about these ideas. And I knew that I was supposed to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool.
Yes, it was really, really special.
What is it about Sarah? What did you get the feeling of because this is a very personal story. You can feel it.
I don't. You mean talking about what Sarah talked about? I mean, my experience was that Sarah was always interested in these concepts. My experience was the same with Billy, and that we all shared that interest and curiosity. And the way Sarah reformulated what was an original idea that was different that Billy talks about, that that all of a sudden she understood how to put this together within the structure of a psychological thriller, and that her own personal connection and questions and curiosity about this subject actually played into the way she formulated this and passed that on to the writing team and then to the directors and everybody. But people were available to talk about these ideas in ways that they've not been able to talk about before. And a lot of people are worried or frightened to talk about it because it makes them sound strange or weird, that they might even want to investigate these ideas. So this is going to give people permission to do that, which I'm really thrilled about.
Well, I think that's the beauty of genre, right?
Yes.
It opens it up to, you can have these conversations that normally you wouldn't have.
That's right. That's right. And when you do it through an entertainment venue, then all of a sudden you have this way in that is almost like the comfort blanket that walks you through it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I gotta say, watch it again, going back through your career, it seems like you're very intuitive within what you choose.
Yes.
You play everything. Has that always been a part of your career path?
It's such a good question. Thank you. I've always felt strongly about it. In the early days of my career, I didn't do that as much. I didn't. I began to listen really around the time of, and I'm talking about listening to my gut, not my head, or not what was going to be, how I was going to create my career. And I started listening in a different way. And then for a period of time, I stopped listening as much. And I've begun in these last, probably I'd say the last 10 years, I've gone back to looking at things in a way that is much more intuitive, that also taking into account the audience and what I believe, and all of you in the press as well, want to see and would be interested in seeing. So it's a combination of those things.